Go Be Great with Tia Randall. I am Tia Randall. As most of you know, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So what better month to get out there and be transparent so that people can be transformed? So I wanted to share some of my own mental health struggles. I have been under the care of a psychiatrist for 10 years. I've been seeing a therapist for 8 years. So there are practices and there are things I have learned over these years that have helped me overcome my obstacles with mental health and learn how to live my best life. And all of that starts in your mind. So I want to start with the premise of it is a scientific fact that the hormones of stress, of anxiety, of doubt, of fear, of anger, all of those emotions, they create chemicals in the body. And then those chemicals create disease in the body. That's a scientific fact. So then that begs the question, what are these emotions coming from? They're attached to our thoughts. So each thought you have has an emotion that's attached to it. And if that emotion is stress, anxiety, fear, anger, guilt, then those thoughts are in essence creating disease in your body. So that means that our thoughts can make us sick. So if our thoughts can make us sick, can our thoughts make us well? And the answer is absolutely yes. So your thoughts can make you sick, but we also know your thoughts can make you well. So how do we get on this well track, right? Like, how do you make sure you're thinking thoughts that are regenerating your body instead of killing your body, right? So the first thing you've got to realize is that you've already got a deficit because you've got a brain, right? And that brain keeps a record of your past. That means it keeps those memories. And all of those memories have an emotion attached to it, right? And an emotion is an end product of a past experience. That's the definition. So if you are having thoughts and attached to those thoughts are emotions, which are a product of past experiences, essentially you're thinking in the past. So if we're thinking in the past, we're killing ourselves because we don't live there, right? So how do we build a life that is full of the goodness God promised us? Let's dig into that. So the brain keeps a record of the past. The past is full of memories. Each memory has attached to it an emotion. By definition, emotion means a product of a past experience. So let's think about that for a second. Let's break that down. The brain stores the memories. The memory stores the emotions. The emotions are an end product of a past experience. So essentially, when you get up in the morning and you start thinking, you're already thinking in the past because the only thing you have to work with is what you already know. And what you already know is the past. Like that, let's just stop and say la. So most of us think where there are memories, we don't think towards our future. And it's not because we can't. It's just because we don't know how. Most of us grew up in a home where the survival mentality was what we were growing up under. We had parents who lived from paycheck to paycheck. We saw our parents trying to budget and make ends meet with not enough to meet. So we know what that's like. And a lot of us grew up under that. So when you begin to think with your memories, you end up feeling that sadness that may have been there at the beginning. You begin to feel anger. You begin to feel doubt about you. Can I live a life of plenty even though I grew up in a life of lack? We begin to question those things. And the reason why is because how we think and how we feel creates our state of being. So if you think in the past, your entire state of being is stuck in the past. And if you're stuck in the past, where do you have time or space for your future? You don't. That's the problem. And so what happens is that past now is becoming a predictable future. So what that means is the brain stores the trauma, right? And those feelings are practiced and repeated because of the mind. Now, your brain is recalling that event so that it can prepare you for it to happen again. That's what it means when it says your past can become a predictable future. If you don't stop your brain is trying to prime you and prepare you for the trauma to happen again. Example, I have been married 3 times. So my first husband left, my second husband left. So when I got to the third husband, it was like, I've got to prepare for him to leave. I've got to keep money saved up somewhere hidden. I've got to do all these things. And it was finally like in the 6th year of our marriage, I was like, why am I doing this? Why am I preparing for divorce? And it's because it's happened before. And so I'm allowing the trauma of my brain to prepare me for the same thing again. The devil is a liar. And the devil is a liar for you too. You don't have to prime yourself to be let down again. You don't have to prime yourself to be broke because your parents were broke. Come on, somebody. You don't have to prime yourself for that. But suppose you are priming yourself of it and you don't even know. So when your brain recalls events over and over and over to try to prepare you for when it happens again, that is the definition of survival mode. That is a survivor's mentality. You have got to figure out a way to survive when it happens again. Now, we have studies out there that have proven that 70% of Americans live in survival mode. Does that not blow your mind? So you're always anticipating the worst case scenario, which in essence will bring it to you because you're anticipating it, therefore becoming that predictable future we keep talking about based on your past. So that means that when you are in the realm of joy, peace, and love, sometimes because we live in a survival mode, we're trying to figure out where's the catch. Where is this going to all fall apart? Like for me with the marriage, when is he going to turn out to be no good? When is he going to walk out? When is he going to realize that I'm not who he thinks I am? All these things we prepare ourselves for, these worst case scenarios, that is a form of mental illness because your thoughts are betraying you based on something that's happened in the past, right? Like, I hope that is making as much sense as I hope it is, right? Like, this is some good shit. So when you're in the realm of love and peace and joy, all of these wonderful positive things, because you are familiar with what your brain is keeping record of, you will choose rudeness. You will choose bitterness. You will choose insecurity over those things. And the reason why is because your brain conditions you for fear. So if your brain is conditioning you for fear, you're not going to accept the love. You're not going to accept all the winning in your life. You're going to look for a place that's fucked up because that's the way your brain has conditioned you for fear. So why are we this way, right? Like, what is going on? So the emotions that are attached to the thoughts, we don't check them. They go unchecked. And the reason they go unchecked is because we are not taught how to check our emotions. And it's so simple and it sounds so easy, but it's really tough work because each emotion that is attached to a thought, it comes with a message. And the message is what we call a feeling. Like when people say they're all in their feelings, they in their feelings. They have no idea what they're talking about. But in essence, they really do, because when you're in your feelings, that means you're not thinking. Because now the feelings are in control. So if the feelings are in control, what do you do about that? The reason you've got to get your emotions in check is because emotions are not meant to make you crazy. Emotions carry messages, and those messages are what you react to. So an example is anger. Anger looks like a bad emotion, but anger is also an indicator that you're trying to protect yourself. So then when you feel yourself getting angry, stop and ask yourself, what am I trying to protect myself from? If you see yourself about to get into an argument with your spouse or an argument with a parent or an argument and you feel yourself get angry, just stop a second and say, why am I trying to protect myself from the people I love and the people that love me? And if you can stop and begin to ask yourself that, you will begin to eliminate anger and you will save it for when it's needed. You see what I'm saying? There is a way to think your way through your emotions to where when you need them, you can use them. But when you don't need them, don't let them come up and just deconstruct and destroy your life. I don't like them because I'm impatient because I'm rude because I'm broke because I'm not a wife because I'm not a parent because. And all of these things, the because is always going to be something from the past. Like it's always going to be something from the past. Whenever you begin to ask yourself, I'm this way because, the because is always going to be something from the past. You can't go back to the past, right? You can't get into some type of DeLorean or time machine and go back to the past. So how are you able to bring the past into the present moment? With your mind. Let's examine the because. Because if you think about it, the because is controlling your life because you're allowing that thought to control you. So if you need an example of how a thought can control you, here's a really easy one. So when I've had a busy day and then I come home or I jump into my car, my truck for the first time, and after I've been around people, I've been peopling all day. Like the first thing I like to do is find a space where I can just sit myself down and do some breathing exercises. And that calms me down. There is power in your breathing because oxygen, once it saturates your bloodstream, it begins to regenerate your cells. It begins to make those constricting blood vessels relax. This is science. This is not me. So, essentially, by taking that time to completely stop and breathe, I am being controlled by a thought. Think about it in your own life. There are times when you've told yourself, I'm going to go to this gym. I'm going to go cuss that person out. I'm going to go tell my mom I'm sorry. I'm going to go hug my dad. Whatever you're going to is going to be, right? You are being controlled by a thought. So if you are being controlled by the wrong thoughts, how do you make sure that you are being now controlled by the right thoughts? Well, you've got to produce some right thoughts. So if your thoughts are based on fear, if they are operating in doubt, that means you are controlled by your emotions and feelings. And those are limited resources. That's why you have to revisit the thought every day, because the feeling, the hormone that you get from that anger and from that pain, it's limited. That's why you have to think about it over and over and over, right? But if you decide that you're going to change your thinking and you're going to think with positivity and love and joy, those are unlimited resources. So that means you begin to create those things with unlimited resources. So it's all about your operating system, right? If your thoughts are based on the past, you're thinking with feelings and emotions and the things that cause disease in the body. But if you change your thoughts and you begin to think with love and expectation and joy and peace, you begin to operate in love in a realm of manifestation. And those are unlimited resources. You've never heard somebody say, I manifested too much. There's no such thing. It's unlimited. So now if you can change your operating system to the love and the joy and the expectation, then that means your brain is no longer a record of the past, but a map to the future. So that means your because makes you a victim. I'm this way because. That means that you have settled into a victim mentality. But suppose you say, I'm this way because God says I'm more than a conqueror. What if you say, I'm going to do the work to make sure I'm no longer operating in the energies that don't allow me to create things? That will take you from a space of, I can only do what I'm allowed, to a place where I can create what I want. And it all starts with your thoughts. Every morning, I start with the thought, because I know I am not a victim, I know I cannot be conditioned for fear. And that's what makes me fearless, because I tell myself over and over, I cannot be conditioned by fear because I know I am not a victim. Only victims can be conditioned into fear. And I refuse to be a victim. I refuse. So now you have to ask yourself, does my environment control my thinking, or does my thinking control my environment? If you go there with yourself, and if you're very intentional, that will take you out of the victimhood and to the realm where you can create. Because now you understand, I'm no longer allowing my environment to decide what I'm going to think. I'm going to think, and I'm going to decide what my environment will be like. That's how you get to creation mode. That's how you become the creator of your life. You take back your thoughts. So next week, we're going to cover metacognition, how you think and how you feel. That's going to be really, really good as well, because it's going to help us begin to break down the barriers to entry in our own brain so we can think the thoughts we need to think to go to the places we need to go. I hope you guys enjoyed this. And until next time, get out there and go be great. I'll see you next time. If you or someone you know is struggling with their mental health, call the National Mental Health Hotline. Someone is available 24 hours a day.